The Aston Martin has a certain cachet, thanks in part to the James Bond 007 movies. We will even show you the exact costs for the various repairs we show in this video. We hope you enjoy it.
Bye bye.
One of the things I discovered and didn't originally know about was that the speaker grill in this area was loose and there was a 1/4 inch gap. Here you have another view of the speaker cover assembly. You notice I've run wire through the speaker grill. It's metal, speaker grill and the stainless steel wire I'm using. And I used MDF as a brace, and I twisted my wire over it and held the speaker grill in place. From the back on the right hand side, I inserted 415 putty to glue that speaker grill back into position. Now for those who are wondering why you did it this way, I'm going to give you a shot and show you what the reason is. Fortunately, I can't get you in the back there to see what I'd like to show you. But way over on the right hand side where I'm having the graphic point to, there is a bracket that somebody's glued in behind that speaker that prevents that right hand side from coming loose. The left hand side over here just has a tab that you can pop out. I'm going to cut the wire, pull it out, whole thing's all fixed. Trunk on the Aston Martin DB7 Volante. We're looking at the latch assembly. I've released what they refer to as fir tree fasteners. I'd call them Christmas tree fasteners, didn't make any difference, so that we could get to this area. Now, in this area, our latch has damage to its plastic. Probably from being dropped over and over and over, but there is a damage point in here. Also, there is a momentary switch in here, which I'll give you another shot of. And we had to have a way of activating that switch with the arm being missing from the switch. So I'll bring you around to this side and show you what the solution was. Here we have the solution, which is I made a tab here on the latch, and because the plastic's broken, I was able to insert a tab made from part of a spring and put a series of heat shrink tubing on it. And so when it goes closed, it'll activate the little switch back here. But that's not really how it should be, but that does work 98% of the time. Located on each end, there's 2 bolts and 2 bolts over here. They look like they're 10 millimeter, so I'm going to have to take those out so I can drop the latch down and switch the parts out. And I did check, the plugs are identical, just different colored wires. So, set to remove these 3 bolts here. If I got a 10 millimeter wrench, this one will work better because it's 10 millimeters. So now, these all removed. Thing to note, there's an extra washer under the left side. And so now latch will come off, and you have a rod here that has to be inserted in the latch when you take it out or put it in. Borrowed a lock washer from the salvage yard latch. So we'll have 4 bolts with lock washers in this position because that's what they had. I don't believe one of them should have been missing a lock washer. So that one, got one more to start. I'm going to tighten her up. And we'll reconnect our wiring. that plug back in for the electric actuator. We're going to plug our other plug back in right now since we can do it at the moment. It's in. And now, these two. Let's see how our key works with it, since it's back in there. Working like it should. This is our salvage yard assembly that we bought on eBay. Here we have the switch, but you notice there's no flag. The flag should be pinned from here across and going down, as we found out. Our solution, because this is the one that was in the car, I've mounted it back on here to keep the rest of these parts together. I'm going to keep all this. When this comes over, it'll hit this little button on the switch. Because I didn't have on the micro switch the proper flag piece, I took a piece of spring, inserted it under the plastic, glued it with my special super glue, and put a whole series of heat shrink tubing around it. So this is cushionable. Comes around and hits that and works 98% of the time, but because there is some cushion in here, you hit exactly the right bump and it would set off the chime telling you had a door open. That's why I bought this whole assembly, just so I could change this out. And as you now know, and I know for sure, which I was certain of it by looking at the pictures, it's 100% absolutely interchangeable. And it is now fixed in the car the way it should be in the first place. These fir tree fasteners are very simple to install. You just push them in and they go into the hole and they hold everything real well. So there was one of the missing ones now pushed in. And it's exactly the same this way, instead of maybe getting one that doesn't have quite a texture, because this has a little texture on it. Don't know if I'd get the same thing in an auto parts store, but I've got the real Aston Martin part there. Here we have the rear quarter panel in the car removed. I'm trying to get it to focus on the right thing. Right there in the center, I'll put a graphic pointing out the point where you adjust the rear window, because we have just fixed the misalignment of that rear window. It was very easy once you had the panel out. That stud you've just seen has those two parts on it. Window gap misalignment on the driver's side, totally fixed. Located on each end, there's 1, 2 bolts and 1, 2 bolts over here. They look like they're 10 millimeter, so I'm going to have to take those out so I can drop the latch down and switch the parts out. And I did check, the plugs are identical, just different port layers.